You ever stand in a room so silent you can hear your own doubts echoing back at you? That's how it started for me. One moment, I was invisible, just another maid scrubbing silver in a Seattle mansion built on old money and older grudges. Next, I was standing toe-to-toe with hate itself, with Lilia's handprint burning on my face, the word trash still ringing in my ears. Yeah, that happened and it changed everything. Seattle's rain might wash the streets clean, but it never touched the inside of that house. The place looked like something out of a magazine. Marble everywhere, ceilings so high you'd lose your prayers in them. But none of that meant a thing when you were just a shadow moving through halls, careful not to leave fingerprints on someone else's life. I was 20, but most days I felt twice that. My skin, this deep brown, always seemed to draw extra stares in rooms where I didn't belong. I'd gotten good at being invisible, polishing glasses worth more than my rent, all while trying not to remember that my father, a man folks called a hero, a black cop who fought for justice, vanished in the same fire that stole my childhood. Maybe it's easier to scrub crystal than to scrub out the ache, you know what I mean? Working for Draven Blackwood, well, that was just survival. He was the tech billionaire type sharp suit, cold eyes, barely there except in the headlines. His wife, Lilia Vanderbilt, she was the real queen of that castle. Blonde, elegant, dripping with money and contempt, she could cut you down with a look. Or a word. Or, hell, a slap if she felt like it. Lilia never hid what she thought of me. Not when Draven was gone, anyway. The insults, the little cruelties telling me people like me didn't belong in houses like hers. I learned early on, you keep your head down, say yes ma'am, and never let them see you break. Some days I'd find myself scrubbing floors, picturing my daddy's smile, hearing his voice in my head, "You're my brave girl, Kay. Never let anyone dim your light." Sometimes that memory was the only thing that kept me from crumbling. But you know what? Even in a place that cold, there's always a spark. For me, it was music, old Afrobeat tunes on a busted radio when everyone else was asleep. I'd dance alone in the kitchen, just me and the rhythm, in a green dress I'd bought with my own wages, a dress I kept hidden under a pile of towels, a small rebellion nobody could steal from me. That's where I found pieces of myself, moving to music no one else could hear. Everything shifted the day Lilia caught me with that dress. I knew the rules maids don't dream, and we sure as hell don't wear green dresses in the living room. But Lilia, she didn't just see a dress. She saw a threat, something out of her control, and she snapped. The slap came quick, a crack of lightning in a room already heavy with storm. "You think you belong here, trash?" she spat, and the words hit harder than her hand. For a second, I wanted to disappear, to shrink back into the walls. But then, and I don't even know where it came from, I looked her dead in the eye. I didn't say a word, but I made damn sure she saw I wasn't broken. That's when Draven appeared in the doorway, fury in his eyes. He'd seen enough. "You've gone too far, Lilia," he roared, his voice thunder rolling down the hall. You could have heard a pin drop. That moment right there, it felt like the world tilted. For the first time, someone stood between me and her. Draven, of all people. "She's a person," he said, staring Lilia down. "And you have no right." His words cut through the years of silence, through all the times I've been told I was nothing. And for a second, just a second, I believed him. But if you think a woman like Lilia goes down without a fight, you don't know old money. She called her father Theodore Vanderbilt the kind of man who owns rooms the second he walks in. He stormed into that mansion with a voice that could shake the chandeliers, demanding to know why his daughter had been humiliated over a maid. Draven didn't blink. He played the security footage, every cruel word, every slap, every humiliation Lilia had dished out. "This ends now," Draven said, and suddenly I wasn't the one on trial. Lilia was. What happened next? Well, that was the twist. Draven pulled out documents, emails, contracts, proof that the Vanderbilts had been trying to use their marriage to steal his company, control his life. "Fight me," he said, "and I'll burn you all down." It wasn't just about me anymore. It was about power, justice, survival. Theodore grabbed Lilia, muttering threats, but Draven wouldn't budge. "Case stays. She's worth more than your games." And just like that, the Vanderbilts were gone. The mansion, so full of ghosts, suddenly felt empty in a new way. The threat lingered. Sure, men like Theodore don't forgive or forget. But for the first time, I felt seen. Not as a servant, but as a person. My scar, the one left by the fire, didn't burn with shame. It pulsed with pride. Survival is a quiet kind of victory. But let me back up a sec. Draven didn't do all that out of charity. Later, when the dust settled, he came to me in the kitchen, his eyes softer than I'd ever seen. "I owe you an apology," he said, and that caught me off guard. We sat at the little staff table, two survivors picking at old wounds. "You didn't have to stand up for me," I told him, my voice low. "No one ever has." But he shook his head. "I saw you dance, Kay, in that green dress. You weren't just a maid. You reminded me what it's like to feel alive." It's a strange thing, hearing that from a man you feared more than trusted. But in that moment, something changed between us. He offered to help me find out what happened to my father. Said he had resources, connections, the means to dig up the truth I'd spent my whole life running from. I almost laughed. Promises are cheap in my world. But this time I wanted to believe. The next days, we worked together, searching records, piecing together a past I'd only seen in dreams. Draven turned out to be a terrible cook, nearly sliced off his finger chopping carrots, but for the first time, I saw him as a man, not just a billionaire trapped in a glass castle. We shared stories, laughter, even silence that didn't feel so empty anymore. And then, a week later, everything shifted again. Draven handed me an envelope trembling. I opened it to find a photo of my father, older but alive, living in a small Washington town. My heart just broke open. "He's been looking for you, Kay," Draven said. He never stopped. Tears I'd buried for 15 years finally fell. We drove out to see him, the road winding through pine trees and possibility. When I stepped out, my father was there on the porch, eyes wide with hope. "Kay," he whispered. I ran to him, and for the first time since the fire, I was home. Back at the mansion, Draven met me at the door. "Why'd you risk everything?" I asked him, still searching for answers. He handed me a star-shaped pendant, not a ring, but a promise. "You belong here, Kay, however you choose. You brought light back into this house, into my life." I looked at him, really looked, and realized I wasn't invisible anymore. The newspapers screamed about the Vanderbilt scandal, but all I felt was the quiet strength of knowing who I was. Not just a maid, not just a survivor, a woman who'd found her way back to the light, scar and all. My story wasn't a tragedy. It was a reckoning and a beginning. So, let me ask you, after all this, what would you have done in my shoes? Would you have stood up or stayed quiet? Where do you draw the line between discipline and cruelty, between justice and revenge? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your side. Don't forget to subscribe if you want more stories like this. Because sometimes the real battle isn't about winning, it's about being seen. And trust me, that's a fight worth having.
Xin chào các bạn, mình là Trinh, mình phụ trách viết content. Trên đây là những công việc của mình, là mình lên mạng xã hội tìm hiểu những video.
It is cold, yeah. Next one? Alright. Thank you, man. Hey, if you guys have any trouble, let somebody know. Please.
After the tree to hold on to. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
the fence.